Welcome to the League of Nerds comic book segment number 58. I'm John Cooney, here to talk to you about comics released the 13th of March, 2013. Beginning as usual with my first five, meaning these are the first 5 books I intend to read this week, and I'll give a little more depth on them. Starting with at number 1, Walking Dead number 108. Ezekiel Has a Tiger. With this cryptic solicit and cover, series writer Robert Kirkman was asked what he could tell us about Ezekiel. Quote, "I can tell you Ezekiel has a tiger." No, I mean, like, you can say the world is expanding, so we always have to be introducing characters, because we keep killing characters. The Walking Dead is always supposed to be an evolution, a natural progression of civilization crumbling and who survives that, and how people carry on. In the first 20 and 30 issues of The Walking Dead, we're meeting people like Alan and Donna and Jim the mechanic, and characters that are very much like the characters that we know in our everyday lives. Our friends, our neighbors, our family members, our loved ones. I think Michonne was really the first character that kind of started to adapt to this world, and that kind of hit a point where I started introducing characters like the Governor. Now, because people have been living so long in this world, we're starting to see harsher, stronger people. The Walking Dead is about watching people be altered by their surroundings. Then we started introducing characters that had already been altered by their surroundings and were already darker, weirder, stranger, and more deadly. And now that we've passed issue 100, we're going to start seeing more of those characters. Characters like Jesus, who is very capable of living out on his own, and Negan, who has allowed this world to twist him beyond anything we've seen before. And characters like Ezekiel, who have tigers. Close quote. At number 2, we've got Batman number 18. Welcome guest artist Andy Kubert. In the wake of an unspeakable tragedy, Batman is in danger of losing his humanity. Fan favorite character Harper Row returns. Will she be able to pull Batman back from the brink? Now, spinning out of the events from Batman Incorporated number 8, which I'll attempt not to spoil here, series writer Scott Snyder explained, quote, "With this issue in particular, part of what we wanted to do was show how it deeply impacts the city when Batman is hurting. One of the reasons I chose to use Harper Row as the lens for this issue is that she's so close to the city as well, and connects down in its actual electrical grid, underneath it so much, even in its lifeblood, that when something is wrong with Batman, she's really going to feel it," close quote. He went on to say, quote, "With Harper, we wanted to show that someone can still look at Batman from a distance and see this figure that's incredibly inspiring, and also that she represents a very young generation in Gotham. Harper is the character who really represents the everyday struggle in the poorer section of Gotham, what it's like to be an everyday hero in Gotham, and to be inspired by a character like Batman. Even though he can lose allies and have his psyche really shattered, he's still Batman to the people out there. He's always picking them up and getting them back on their feet, but every once in a while somebody can help him get back up on his feet too." Close quote. Number 3, we've got Wolverine and the X-Men number 26. Jason Aaron and Eisner Award-winning best artist Ramon Perez continue the arc that readers will remember for years to come. Dog Logan is back and Wolverine is in for a world of hurt. The students are out on their own in the Savage Land with no supervision. Uh-oh. Series writer Jason Aaron explained the current storyline, quote, "This arc is really about 2 things. It's about Wolverine and his brother, and it's about these kids. I wanted to do an arc that kind of stripped away a lot of our cast, because we've got a huge cast in Wolverine and the X-Men. We haven't really seen Wolverine become hands-on and teach a class. What does this mean when Wolverine decides to teach a class? I thought the idea was interesting. This guy whose formative years, much of them were spent living in the wilderness with wild animals. How does he impart his knowledge to the group of kids? Of course, he brings them to the Savage Land and dumps them on their own and tells them, you have to learn to survive and work together. I liked that idea, and I also wanted to focus in on the kids. 3 of these characters are new, that we've seen little of so far, so I wanted us to learn a little more about them, and also continue the threads that we've been building up with our other main kids, like Quentin and Edie and Genesis and Brew." Close quote. At number 4, we've got Avengers Season 1 hardcover premiere edition, an all-new original graphic novel modernizing the formative first days of the superhero icons that defined pop culture. A hidden foe manipulates the newly minted Avengers from the shadows, meticulously sowing the seeds of discord and mistrust, and causing the new teammates to question the very ties that bind them together as they hunt for the fugitive Hulk. Thor, a shape-shifting alien with a secret agenda. Captain America, a hoax. Iron Man, an enemy conspirator. Their confidence in each other shattered. Will the heroes destroy each other before the conspirator is revealed? Only the smartest among them will see through the deception, and it's not who you think. Author Peter David, one of my favorites, explained the setting for this retelling. Quote, "It's set in what I would call a continuity bubble in the already established Avengers history. There's a specific time in history this story slides into, and it also serves the needs of a project created as a companion piece to the movie. It's a Silver Age tale told in a modern age manner. I broke it up into individually titled chapters, like in the old days, and every single one of the heavy hitters gets equal time in terms of page count. You've got classic heroes and classic villains, Yes, Loki is there to set things off. It was great playing with the Silver Age iterations of these heroes, but trying to give them a bit of a modern-day sensibility. Plus, it was set very early in their history, when they still weren't entirely sure of each other. You've got one of the big dichotomies of humanity epitomized right there: Thor, the essence of religion, who Vikings prayed to and worshipped, and Iron Man, the man of science who thinks it's preposterous to have someone going around saying he's a god. They're both arrogant in their own way, and each of them thinks the other is nothing special. Close quote. As far as making the book accessible and movie-friendly, David said, quote, "We wanted it to seem familiar to non-readers of the comic. We left Rick Jones, Hank Pym, and Janet Van Dyne out of the story, though they are referred to. We didn't want newcomers wondering who these guys were. On the other hand, the Hulk is perfectly articulate, as he was in those early Avengers comics. We tried to strike a balance, and I think we succeeded." Close quote. And at number 5, we've got Uncanny X-Men number 3. Everything has changed for Magneto in the last few weeks. Can he prove he's still the master of magnetism? Cyclops and the rest of his crew take the revolution on the road, gathering up more new mutants. Series writer Brian Michael Bendis explained his take on Cyclops, quote, "Modern-day Cyclops is on a road to redemption like no other in history of fiction. To have fallen thus far, and yes, some have fallen into villainy, some have died, but what happened to Cyclops by murdering the man who means the most to him, maybe even what we imagine to be his father, or certainly his father figure, to try to crawl out of that is a gigantic road to redemption in front of him, including all the broken relationships that are all around him, including the people closest to him. All while doing what he sets out to do in the first place, which is to help mutants and save mutants, and give mutants a home and a school in which to train and learn the way he did, and save them the way he was saved. And the best way he can make it up to the world for what happened to Xavier, and whatever his participation in it was, is to do right by the version of Xavier, and to create the new Xavier school, and to train them to do what he thinks is right for the mutant race." That's a lot going on in one giant sentence, but it's the most X-Men of X-Men ideas, really. Cyclops now represents all things mutant, close quote. Rounding out the top 10 at number 6, we've got Age of Ultron number 2, with the same solicit as last week. For years, the heroes of the Marvel Universe have lived in the fear that the artificial intelligence known as Ultron would one day evolve to fulfill its desire to wipe out all organic life and take over the Earth. That day has arrived. This massive 10-part Marvel Universe-spanning event is brought to you by Eisner Award-winning writer Brian Michael Bendis and comics legend Brian Hitch. At number 7, we've got Batman and Robin number 18. You dare not miss this issue. It's the Batman and Robin story of the year. At number 8, we've got Wolverine number 1. It's hunting season. The best there is at what he does gets an all-new ongoing. Pay attention very closely. There's a mystery here that even Wolverine hasn't sniffed out yet. When Wolverine finds himself the bargaining chip in a hostage situation, he must make a decision to save a little boy that will follow him forever. Literally. How can a berserker fight what he can't see? And how far will he go to assert his humanity in the face of the unknown? Find out when superstars Paul Cornell and Alan Davis take on the Wolverine. At number 9, we've got Star Wars number 3. Princess Leia formed a secret squadron of stealth X-Wings to help expose a spy within the rebel ranks, but taking command puts her at odds with Luke Skywalker at a time when they need solidarity more than ever, especially when the spy has alerted the Empire to Han Solo's latest venture. With the dream team of Brian Wood, Carlos Donda, and cover artist Alex Ross, it's a perfect starting point for new readers with fan-favorite Star Wars classic-era characters. And at number 10, we've got Peter Panzerfaust number 10, Paris, Conclusion. The aftermath of a dangerous rescue mission leaves the group fractured and forever changes the face of their war. Major Spoiler says, quote, "Both magical and adventurous without needing the aid of pixie dust or giant crocodiles." Not saying that throwing in a croc wouldn't be awesome, though. Peter Panzerfaust is the title that you should be checking into every month, and I'm giving this issue 4 out of 5 stars. Close quote. For the best of the rest this week from DC, we've got Batgirl number 18, the first of 2 issues by guest writer Ray Fawkes. Batgirl must face the man who sold her out to the Joker during death of the family, her own brother, James Gordon Jr. Can Barbara help him, or will this conflict be the final nail in her family's coffin? We've got before Watchmen Ozymandias number 6 of 6, with the pull quote, "Remember that island I mentioned buying a few years back?" Next, we've got Katana number 2. Katana has joined the Deadly Sword clan in hopes that they'll lead her further down the path to vengeance. Katana has been contacted by Steve Trevor, but what does the Justice League of America want with her? We've got Ravagers number 10. Someone claiming to be Tara's brother comes to the team. Unfortunately, Deathstroke the Terminator isn't far behind him. The Ravagers are having serious trust issues already, so a visit from the world's deadliest assassin certainly won't help. We've got Suicide Squad number 18. It's rematch time as Basilisk faces off against the Suicide Squad. What or who is so important that Amanda Waller would risk stepping into the field herself? And we've got Superboy number 18. Hell on Earth is ended, and Superboy is about to land in a new city with a new secret identity and a surprising new foe on his trail. Guest starring Superman. For Marvel this week, we've got Alpha Big Time number 2 of 5. Alpha, inarguably the greatest superhero of his or any past and future time, has been restored to power by the superior Spider-Man. He's saving damsels in distress. He's leaping tall buildings. He may have accidentally murdered someone. Wait, what? Josh Fialkov and Nuno Plati reunite for the tale of the next great hero. We've got Avengers Arena number 6, Betrayal, Secrets, Murder. Shock follows shock in the stunning conclusion to our first story arc. Who will win the race to the supplies, and what are they willing to do to get there first? Who is not what they seem, and which player will draw first blood? We've got Avengers Assemble number 13, Time to Pay the Piper or the Psychopathic Lizard Girl. Black Widow and Hawkeye stand in judgment for the sins of their past. Spider-Woman's caught in the middle. Natasha, don't drink that, it's... uh-oh. Next, we've got Avenging Spider-Man number 18. The superior Spider-Man faces off with Thor, God of Thunder, the return of Electro. Can the superior Spider-Man and Thor set aside their differences and egos to save the world? Spoiler, no they can't. And we've got Fantastic Four number 5. The Fantastic Four travel back to ancient Rome and dine with Caesar in the Ides of March. Did somebody say pass the knife? We've got Fearless Defenders number 2. Danny Moonstar joins the Defenders. Valkyrie and Misty prepare to take on the Doom Maidens, plus a closer look at our sadistic new villain. Next, we've got Thor God of Thunder number 6, God Bomb Part 1. Somewhere at the end of time, all the gods of the universe are enslaved, working to build a machine that will forever change the face of creation. What is the God Bomb? And what can Thor, the last free god in all the cosmos, do to stop it? We've got Thunderbolts number 6. The team reaches the bloody end of their first mission. The final deadly team member is revealed. We've got Ultimate Comics Wolverine number 1. Jimmy Hudson's quest to discover the answers about his past begins here. What mission was Wolverine on that led to the birth of Jimmy? A story that will rock the Ultimate Universe's family tree forever. We've got Ultimate Comics X-Men number 24. Natural Resources continues. The mutants have proved their worth, but at what cost? Kitty makes a choice that could haunt her forever. Rising star Mahood Asrar from Supergirl joins the creative team. And we've got X-Men Legacy number 7. Refusing Wolverine's offer to join the X-Men, David Haller must now decide exactly how he'll carry out his father's legacy. But upon venturing into the world on his own, will he be beckoned back to Westchester by his budding fascination with young X-Man Blindfold? And more importantly, how will their future together change the fate of mutant kind? From Dynamite Entertainment, we've got Kevin Smith's The Bionic Man Annual number 1. 3 words, Venus Death Probe. When a clandestine Chinese spacecraft crash lands north of Alaska, it's a race against time between China and the United States, each anxious to salvage valuable high-tech secrets to hunt down an errant rover built to survive the greenhouse hell of a Venusian atmosphere. OSI agent Steve Austin tests the limits of his bionics as he hunts down an independent-minded machine determined to complete its mission no matter where it has landed. From IDW, we've got Highways number 3. Mysteries begin to unfold as our crew learns there are plots within plots and betrayals within betrayals. And just what is the relationship between Cagney and Megan? Hey, thanks to Ben at Empire's Comics Vault for pointing this one out to me. From Image Comics, we've got Manhattan Projects number 10, Finite Oppenheimers, an in-depth look at the first decade of the ongoing war inside Oppenheimer's brain. How far is too far behind enemy lines when the enemy is yourself? My God, it's full of Oppenheimers. And we've got Mind the Gap number 8, Wish You Were Here Part 3. The struggle between Katie and Elle's mind is settled, and the winner still loses, as a difficult choice must be made. An uneasy alliance is formed to clear Dane's name as Lonnie becomes an even bigger threat. Lives hang in the balance, and more than one person will find death knocking on their door. And we've got Nowhere Men number 4, Everybody's on the Run. From Valiant Comics, we've got Archer and Armstrong number 8, Nothing is Forever, So Say the Null. The wrath of the Eternal Warrior gears up for its universe-shattering penultimate issue. Nothing is forever, that's the motto of the Null, the enemies of the Geomancers for centuries. Now at last the Null have found a key to the utter destruction of all that is, and his name is Obadiah Archer. Can Aram and Gilead set aside their differences long enough to team up against Armstrong's best friend, and will any of them survive the final battle? And we've got Bloodshot number 9, There's no turning back now. The man with a past he can't remember has to make one of the most difficult decisions of his life. Should he play the role of savior and unleash a force that could possibly destabilize the world, or should he settle into the role he knows best, killer, and wipe the slate clean once and for all? Full of shocks, heart-stopping action, and more backstabbing than a dozen productions of Julius Caesar, Bloodshot has his finger on the trigger, and the shot that will be heard around the Valiant universe gets fired right here. Out in trades this week, we've got Hawkeye Volume 1, My Life is a Weapon trade paperback, Fraction, Aha, Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, Cars, Guns, and Videotape. The breakout star of this summer's blockbuster Avengers film, Clint Barton, aka the self-made hero Hawkeye, fights for justice and good rooftop barbecues. And with ex-young Avenger Kate Bishop by his side, he's out to get some downtime from being one of Earth's mightiest heroes. Matt Fraction and David Aja from Immortal Iron Fist reunite to tell the ongoing tales of the Arrow Avenger. Barton and Bishop mean double the Hawkeye and double the trouble. Plus, relive Kate's first meeting with Clint as she learns wanting something can be miles away from actually earning it. Collects Hawkeye number 1 through 5 and Young Avengers Presents number 6. And last, we've got X-Factor Volume 19 Short Stories trade paperback by Peter David. War looms in X-Factor's future. First, get a behind-the-scenes look at how, in a typical day, Pip the Troll holds the entire team together without their knowledge. Then, a newly married X-Factor couple attempts to honeymoon in the happiest place on Earth, but instead must face off with the villain hoping to bring about hell on Earth instead. Who says romance is dead? And when a familiar face hovers between life and death, Monet is the only one who can save them, but it'll require reliving the most horrific experience of her life. Finally, X-Factor investigates a series of eerie portents that leads them to a mysterious, previously unknown race of beings called the Warders. Their job, to prepare the world for its end, and it's closer than X-Factor thinks. Collects X-Factor number 246 to 249. Okay, so that's just a few of my favorite books out this week. There's still plenty of others available. I broke out all the Marvel titles this week in their own video, as well as a separate video for all DC, and even a video with the top independent publishers, and you can find them all on my YouTube channel at he'sgotissues.com. And we'll also have links up on the leagueofnerds.com, our Facebook page, so be sure to like us there too. And of course, you can follow everything that I'm reading on Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. You can find links to everything at he'sgotissues.com. And a reminder that both He's Got Issues and the League of Nerds are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. So until next week, I'm John Cooney, and I've got issues.